This is Allison. Can you believe she's already 6 months old?
Tilly, she's not 6 months old. She's not even 6 days old.
Okay, this is Allison. She is 24...
She is 25 hours and 15 minutes old.
That. 25 hours and 15 minutes?
Yep.
Look at that. She was born at 3:16. We have this fancy little card. Allison Hampton. She was born September 26th. Can you believe that? That was like 3 days ago. By the time this video is published, it's been like 2 months. So she's probably 2 months old now, actually, if you watch the video. She was born at 3:16. How cool is that? And she was 7 pounds, 1 ounce, and 20 inches long. Look at her. She's like a little baby burrito. Say hi, Allison. You're going on YouTube. She's very out of it. She doesn't quite know exactly what's going on.
Well, she was just screaming and crying, so she can be out.
She was, like Maddie's saying, she was just screaming and crying, and now she's not screaming and crying. She's just sitting here. But she's calm. It's kind of, oh look, she's getting more active. Say hi. She doesn't know what to think. You know, she hasn't had much time in her life to think, so. Okay, Maddie. Hi.
Hi.
We gotta stretch this out to 10 minutes.
Okay. You want me to tell my birthing story? Like, I don't know.
Oh yeah, tell your pregnant story.
My pregnant story?
Maddie has a killer pregnant story.
Pregnant story or birthing story?
And a birthing story.
Okay, well, I don't really know what my pregnant story is. I got married, fell in love, had a baby. There's my pregnant story. My birthing story is we decided to induce at 39 weeks because anybody that has been pregnant knows that it sucks, especially when you're big and can't really do anything. So we went and got induced, and we showed up at 12:30 a.m., okay? So that hopefully we could sleep through the first part of the induction. And joke's on us. So we got here at the hospital at 12:30. We finally got to our room, and they started treating me at 2:30. And so by that time we were both tired, and then they started me on the medication. And then my night nurse couldn't really find Allison's heartbeat going, so she had to keep taking me off the medication. It was just, the equipment just wasn't picking it up. And then they did a shift change at 7 o'clock in the morning, and that nurse came on, and she was kick butt, and she knew what she was doing. She hooked me up to a different monitor, and everything started going really smooth. And she cranked up the dosage on the medication, and by 8 o'clock, or 8:30, somewhere in there, she had me dilated to a 3. And then it took about an hour and a half for me to get to a 4. By that point, the contractions were really starting to hurt. And then once I got to a 5, they were really hurting. And getting up and moving and that kind of stuff was not very fun. But I still did it. And Chevy was a total...
That's me.
Total trooper. He was amazing and very supportive. And when I got to 5 centimeters, I had told myself that I wasn't going to get an epidural till I got to 8. When I got to 5, I cracked.
Ooh! Screamy little baby. Come here, Allie.
That is not her name.
What's her name?
Allison.
But isn't Allie for short?
Isn't Chevy short for Chevrolet?
You're going to say Camaro?
Yeah, I was.
Isn't Chevy short for Camaro? So, we don't like the name Allison. Because we don't like the name Allison.
We named her Allison.
So we don't like the name Allie, but we like the name Allison. So don't ask me why we named her Allison if her nickname's gonna be Allie.
It's not.
Maddie claims it's not, but you know. You ever went to school with a bunch of kids and they're like lazy little guys and they go, we don't want to say Allison, we'll just say Allie. I'm getting a glare like no one's business. So, her name is just Allison. Nothing else.
You already finished telling my story?
Yeah. So go back to telling your story.
Okay. So I got to a 5, and I had been told that once you got your epidural, that it slowed down labor. So I didn't want to get it until I got to an 8. So just in case it slowed down my labor, I wasn't going to have to be not being able to move for so long, and my labor being slowed down. And the pain was getting really high and really intense, and I had told my nurse what my concerns were, and so she went and found an anesthesiologist, and I was talked to about it, and I was informed that it would not slow down my labor. And my labor was actually progressing pretty fast for having her being my first child. And so he was going to put in the epidural. So he gets everything prepped and ready. I sit up on the edge of the bed, and there's a pillow right in front of me, like right here in front of me, and you have to like crunch over it and hold on, and your shoulders have to stay completely flat, and you put your chin to your chest, and kind of like a cat, you have to like, that's what you need to do with your back. And he waited for a contraction, and then there's a numbing shot, and that's actually what hurts. And so he put that in, and so you feel this little sting, and then kind of like a burning, stinging sensation when it goes in to numb everything. And then once he took that out, I couldn't feel him put the needle in for the epidural. And you can feel little things, like you can feel some pressure, but it doesn't hurt. You have to hold completely still while he does it though, but it doesn't hurt. And then this guy puts it in and then starts wiggling it around, and at this point there's not a needle in there, it's just a catheter. So the needle doesn't stay in other than to just put the catheter in with it, because that's what stays in and delivers the medication. And so he's wiggling this catheter around, and he's like, can you still feel your legs? Can you feel anything getting numb or tingly? And I'm like, nope, just my back. And so he starts moving it around a little bit more, and he goes, well, it went somewhere. And he's like, let's start the medication.
Those are his exact words. And it went somewhere.
Let's start some medication.
He is a doctor. Remember this, he got paid to say those words.
Yeah. So then he told me to sit back in the bed and that it should kick in within 30 minutes. So then he was nowhere to be found. Okay, let me say that again. Nowhere to be found.
He probably took his lunch break because he was out of here. No one could find him. Where was he?
Okay, and so normally you dilate 1 centimeter every every hour. It took them 45 minutes to find another anesthesiologist. Within that 45 minutes, I dilated from a 5 to a 7. And the contractions got a lot worse, and it was very painful. I'm not gonna lie. And so the next anesthesiologist comes in, and he told me that he could either try to fix the one that was already in or just take it out and start over. And so I chose to have him take it out and try to start over. So once again, now I'm dilated to a 7. The contractions are a lot closer, a lot, not harder, but just, they hurt a lot more. And everything was a lot more intense. And you start to get this feeling that's like not like a ripping, but like that there's this baby and it's gonna like come out of you, and it's not comfortable. And so I had to sit back up, and this one was a lot harder to sit still through because once again the contractions were a lot more intense. And so he gets everything prepped and ready because it has to be a sterile procedure. That's what they call it, a sterile procedure. And then he gets ready to put in the numbing shot. And I hit a really big contraction. And so instead of doing it during the contraction, he waited until afterwards because they were so much more intense. And then he put that in. And then he put the catheter in. And within 5 minutes, everybody, 5 minutes, I could not feel anything. I could not feel my legs. I could not feel my stomach. I could not feel anything. So let me tell you, some people just don't know what the shit they're doing. Okay, if a doctor ever tries to do anything to you and then says, well, it went somewhere, tell him to take whatever he just did back out. Like, never want to see him again, okay? If I ran into that anesthesiologist in the hall, him and I would have words. Because that 45 minutes sucked. And, I mean, I got a beautiful daughter out of the end, but it sucked. Okay, so after you get it put in and you can't feel anything, you have to get, what is it called? A catheter put in. So you don't pee your pants, because that'd be awkward. And so the nurse goes to put the catheter in. Once again, cannot feel anything, okay? And they put the catheter in, and then my doctor comes in to check for dilation, to see how much farther I was, and to see if anything had changed, because the contractions had gotten a lot closer and a lot more intense very fast. And so he came in to check, and so remind you, I was at a 7. He puts a glove on and everything to check for dilation, and then he looks up at me and he says, well, I don't need to check because I can see the head. He goes, it's time to push. So thank goodness I got that second epidural. And so I pushed for about, what, 20-30 minutes?
Maybe 20 minutes, if that.
Yeah.
It wasn't that long.
It really wasn't long. The only part that made it, the reason why it was the length it was, is because I had the epidural and I couldn't feel everything, and so it made it a lot harder to push because I couldn't feel any of it. But that's also the bonus of the epidural, is that you can't feel any of it. And a couple pushes and a little bit of time, and she was out. And then, I don't know, I think it took about 2 hours until I could get up with help from a couple nurses, get up, and I looked like a baby trying to take their first steps, just like waddling to the bathroom. And then I think overall, I think it took about 5 hours for me to be able to actually get up and walk around and feel confident to do that on my own without feeling like I'm going to stumble or need Chevy or something like that. But all in all, I mean, I made the world's cutest baby. I guess we made the world's cutest baby.
I was part of that.
But I cooked her, I baked her, I birthed her. So he wasn't really part of much of it. Anyways.
I go to work every day and make the money.
And I cook you dinner. We play our roles well. I clean the house too. Actually, I work too. I do the decals.
Okay. We're getting carried away.
But we got this beautiful little baby girl out of the whole experience. And for everybody out there, you hear horror stories all the time about how horrible,
all you guys out there,
how horrible labor is. I'm not going to lie to you. It sucked. It hurts, but it's supposed to, because your body has to change to give birth to that baby. But as much as I'm never going to say that I would totally do this again, but you get the most adorable thing out of it. And as long as you have doctors and know what they're doing, it's not that bad. It still sucks and it's still painful, but it's not that bad. But I got this beauty out of it, and she's cute, she's adorable, and she's cuter than your kids, so.
Ooh.